All right. Move this back just a little bit because she might dance around. Okay. Never the spirit moves, Jackie. It's not losing the next 30 seconds.
I would like everyone to think back to when you were applying to schools. Think about when you were filling out the application and asked to state your ethnicity. Just thinking to yourself, did you wonder why you were being asked that? Did you answer the question or opt to leave it blank? Well, today I will be discussing ethnicity on a college application and why it should be transparent. Schools are too focused on making their college stand out among others by having a more diverse student body. In some cases, like Fisher versus Texas, which I'll talk about later, minority students may be granted admissions over a more qualified non-minority simply to achieve diversity. For this reason, I argue that race should be transparent on college applications. First, I want to point out a very controversial case that has recently been brought up. This is one called Fisher versus the University of Texas. In this case, a white applicant claimed she was denied admission because of her race. She argues that the admission policy was discriminatory because it allowed consideration of race. A very important term in this debate is holistic view, which is a required practice for institutes that wish to consider race in admissions. According to Zwick, holistic view is the cornerstone of the admissions process for many institutes of higher education, which typically include documented admission criteria, consideration of a mix of many academic factors to evaluate individual applications in line with institutional goals, and a review process that gives attention both to each applicant and to the overall makeup of the admission class. Zwick also said that faculty members and admission personnel at UCLA, Harvard, and Berkeley called holistic admissions an excuse for cultural bias, a flag leaf that obscures the actual decision process. Now I want to refer back to the Fisher versus Texas case to point out a few unknown facts about the admissions history at the University of Texas. According to Tottenberg, up until 1996, the University of Texas had a selective admissions process that included race and ethnicity as a factor. A federal appeals court then ruled that any racial consideration in admissions were unconstitutional. Because of this, minority enrollment plummeted by 40%. 2 years later, state law guaranteed admissions to all students in the top 10% of their high school class. This was called the Top 10 Plan. Now, most high schools in Texas are segregated by neighborhoods along racial and ethnic lines, so the numbers of minority admitted to the University of Texas rebounded. According to Tottenberg, the 10% plan is so obviously driven by one thing, and that one thing is race. It's totally dependent on having racially segregated neighborhoods. So this shows that schools are determined to have diverse campuses and will do whatever it takes to control that. 4 years after the Top 10 plan went into effect, minority enrollment was still lower than they wanted. So in 2003, after a Supreme Court ruling, the University of Texas was able to add race to one of the factors considered for applicants. According to Tottenberg, when looking at admissions, they look at 2 scores. These include academic index and achievement index. Academic index consists of leadership potential, honors and awards, work experience, community service, extracurriculars, and special circumstances. Now, special circumstances is the category that I want to shed some light on. Special circumstances is the consideration of race, ethnicity, economic circumstances, or whether the applicant comes from a home where English is not spoken. So even if schools say they don't consider ethnicity in their application process, if they use those 2 scores, they are using it in their application process. So I recently had an interview with Jessie Canavan, who is the Director of Admissions here at Mount Union. I asked her if students are asked their ethnicity and why it is placed on the application. She told me that yes, there is an area to specify your ethnicity, but it is optional. More and more, they see that students are leaving it blank than in years past. So this shows that not many students think it's necessary to put this on their application. Mrs. Canavan told me that here at Mount Union, they use this part of the application to see if students are eligible for the Minority Achievement Scholarships, along with measuring if they are attractive to a diverse amount of students. So even though Mount Union states they don't consider this in their application process, not all schools follow that. As a matter of fact, in 2003, Michigan's undergraduate admissions process awarded minority applicants extra points in their admissions process. Now, Now, many people may argue that admitting students solely on ethnicity is essential to a diverse student body. As a matter of fact, Clarence states that universities have compelling interest in obtaining a diverse student body and educational benefits flowing from such diversity. Of course, diversity is important, but the educational benefits of student body cannot justify for racial discrimination. According to Jones, 2/3 of Americans believe college applicants should be admitted solely on merit, even if that result is in few minorities being admitted. But only 20% believe race and ethnicity should be taken into account. So today, I pointed out why ethnicity should be transparent, why it is unnecessary in application, and how colleges use it in their application process. I challenge you to think today about where you stand in this